Week 5 wraps up tonight with a rare Tuesday special. Another game gets rescheduled. Russell Wilson stays red hot, and we have all of the NFL news for you. That and more in 20 seconds. Hello, fellow fanatics. Welcome to the Average Bros Fantasy Show, sponsored by Football Darts and Fantasy Football Alliance, or Fantasy Sports Alliance. Sorry. First, we want to thank our broadcast sponsor, Football Darts. Football Darts is a dart game that combines the skill of traditional darts with the strategies of American football. This innovative dart game is played on a uniquely designed multiple target dartboard. Unlike traditional British darts, American football darts is a game that combines both the skill of darts and the strategies of football. It can be played in sports bars, at tailgate events, and as league tournaments, or as a leisure activity in the comfort of your own home. If you'd like to check out their officially licensed collegiate dartboards, go to footballdarts.com. And remember, if you like today's show, please like, share, subscribe. All of our shows, this show and all of our social medias, rather, which you could see here at the bottom of the screen. Josh, if you don't mind clicking that on there. There we go.
You tell me to do it, and then you do it.
And remember, guys, please go out and check out our new site. It is fsa-fr.com. All new and remodeled. You can find all of our showtimes on there, all of the shops, a little bit of everything, all in one spot for you. That is fsa-fr.com. And as a reminder, I do want to welcome on the Empty Wagon guys who are joining us under the umbrella as a whole here at FSA. They will be with us now on Friday nights at midnight and then Sunday nights again at midnight Eastern Standard Time live on Facebook and YouTube. But you can still check out their podcast on anchor.fm.com. Josh, how are you this week, bud?
I'm doing amazing this week. Besides the fact that my team thinks it's okay to start fighting each other. I mean, we still got the win, but...
You got the win, but not much Traquan Smith, huh?
I don't want to talk about it.
How did...
they were locking him down this week. Other people had to, pick up the slack, and this week seemed to be all about Emmanuel Sanders.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big news, right? I mean, you get a second week without Michael Thomas, not due to injury this time, though. And, you have Traquan Smith, who looks like the new shiny toy, but gets locked down as the number one. And there goes your predictions, huh?
Yeah, that will happen to you when you are viewed as a number one. Past couple weeks, it was kind of flip-flop between him and Sanders, and he came out on top. So, I guess Chargers did their homework and they knew to lock him down. But, with Breeze being such an amazing quarterback, he knew how to get everybody involved, especially with Kamara not putting up the numbers that he usually does.
And speaking of number ones, that brings us right into our week's winners and losers, as always. Josh, who do you got as our winners this week?
All right, kicking it off, I have Chase Claypool, 43.1 points, 7 receptions, 110 yards with 3 touchdowns. And also on the side, he did run one in. So that's 4 total touchdowns this week.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely monster game. And you got to think it comes right at a perfect timing for them. With Deontay Johnson going down with an injury, Juju not looking so great as far as overall performance. I believe he's still being nagged by injuries. Can't really tell by the performance that he's putting out there too much, because he is playing every snap for them, but that team's just starting to get rolling as far as offense goes. I feel anyway, the run game's starting to come back into a hole, and it'll open up big things for Chase Claypool. I don't think that this is the last you'll see of him as far as being up there in numbers.
Yeah, the offense is getting rolling, but I know we were talking about it before. I just feel like they still have yet to play. Like that team will prove, will show that they deserve to be undefeated right now.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point. And speaking of people that really haven't earned the respect of their record nor their numbers, is Justin Herbert putting on an absolute show against the GOAT. Putting up 32.36 points this week, and showing that he can do it in all phases of the game. Do you think that's going to be another name that sticks out there as a mainstay in the upper echelon of fantasy scorers?
Uh, you know, they I guess you could say they have the weapons. I think it's really good for him going forward that they've named him their starter going forward. Uh, but I mean, yeah, fantasy wise, he's putting up the numbers. But with them being 1-4, it's flip flop.
Yeah, we got Brian saying Henry is a beast, and Tennessee's defense looking great, absolutely killing him, killing me as well. I need Josh Allen, or sorry, Stephon Diggs to put up 35 points. I don't think we're even close to that just yet, but still all have to go in that. And as people pop in, I know that there is a game on, as we mentioned. The Bills and Titans game getting moved over to Tuesday as a special today. I believe we are almost at the half. So as people pop in here, we will be going through the comments as we normally do. And in other moves, we have the Patriots unfortunately getting moved and be given their bye this week, playing who they were supposed to play Denver this week. That game gets moved, and then the Chiefs game getting moved from Thursday, which we will recap again later in the show once we get into some news and more people are popping in at halftime here. But a lot of moving parts this week, and as far as different parts being moving around, my next winner before I get over to the loser side of things is Miles Sanders playing that Steelers defense and that Steelers overall team that we mentioned just a minute ago, finally finding a place within that broken offense. A lot of missing parts, a lot of underperforming parts there for the Eagles, but himself putting up 24.9 points in a lower scoring week overall in fantasy. So for me, that's a guy that I look at as gaining a bigger role as the season continues as far as overall point share goes, just because of the lackluster pieces around them. I mean, you got receivers dropping like flies once again within that Eagles team.
Yeah, and not to mention that putting up those points, like those stats against what is like probably top 5, maybe top 3 rushing defense in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I believe they are number 3 overall as a defense. I think they are number 1 as a rushing defense, if I'm not mistaken. But within that realm, that top 3, and then having a pretty decent game and keeping them, right there in the thick of things.
Yeah, and looking at it from an Eagles standpoint, that's exactly what they need. Past couple, like right now their receivers are dropping 1, 2, 3, but past couple seasons they've had the passing game. It's just they had no one to hand the ball off to, so that's what was killing them. But
Yeah, I
if
think
they
it's just
can,
inconsistency as far
yeah,
as running backs go in Philly because they switched from that committee style when you had Clement, even back when you had Jordan Howard there. I mean, now the mainstay is just Sanders back there with Clement here and there as maybe a third down back, goal line back, since he is a little bit of the bigger guy. But outside of that, it's only Sanders, so he's not really having that timeshare with anybody. So, your numbers are going to start to go up with him. But in the opposite direction, guys that are going to start to see their numbers diminish. Who do you got on the loser side of the ball for this week?
So first off, on my losers list, I'm going with Chase Claypool's teammate on the other side of the field. It's going to be Juju. 5.3 points, 4 receptions, 28 yards. I mean, I can understand it. You're considered a number 1 now, so there's gonna be more eyes on you. Getting double coverage, all that stuff. And even after Antonio Brown left and Juju stepped up as number 1, even I said back then that he wasn't going to put up the numbers that he was doing when he was second on the depth chart.
Yeah, I mean Juju, he was to me he will always be a number 2 as far as it goes. Only because you've seen when he was more of a number one last season, you had guys like James Conner step up in the backfield to move yourself forward, and there's been other pieces there outside of just your receivers. You've had Jesse James in the past, who's no longer there as a tight end step up, but now when it's got to be just him with these rookies around him or younger receivers around him, he's obviously underperforming. And then when you see Deontay Johnson go down, Claypool steps up and has an absolute monster of a game. If Brian here says he needs Big Ben, but even with him back, he hasn't been the same. Yeah, I agree. I believe there's also injury issues there. If I'm not mistaken, he has been in and out, so can't stay healthy, can't make a connection to Big Ben. It's just very much so downgrading himself as the season goes on.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking for Juju. One door closes, but another door opens for players like Chase Claypool, maybe Deontay Johnson when he comes back from injury. Players like them, they can step up and play the bigger roles in the game and possibly even keep them undefeated. Who knows?
Yeah. Who else do you have as far as a winner this week?
My second winner is going to be Mike Davis. And if people don't really know who that is, it's the backup running back for Carolina. Um, you know, when McCaffrey went down, I didn't know how their running game was going to be, but the game that he put up, yes, it was against Atlanta, who is now 0-5 and is without a head coach and a general manager right now. He had 89 yards, what is that, 60 receiving yards and a receiving touchdown, putting up 29.4 points.
Yeah, I mean it's whenever you see a big timers running back go down, you always see who's that next man up, who's going to step in to try to carry that load, and obviously being a bigger player in the game with Christian McCaffrey going down, it's a lot of load to carry because of his versatility in the pass game. Um, but you see, Davis starting to step up and take at least enough of that role to where you see other players on the team getting their share back that McCaffrey kind of took away from him, right? In Robbie Anderson, who's had a fantastic season so far, and just as an offense as a whole, stepping up really, across the board instead of leaning on one guy or one position like they had to in the past.
Yeah. When McCaffrey went down, people probably thought like, oh, we're gonna have to go into the passing game, and with people like Mike Davis contributing as he did this week, it really takes a lot of pressure off of Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore, Teddy Bridgewater. It takes a lot of pressure off of them, and they know that they still have somebody in the backfield that they can trust.
Right. And for me, on the opposite side of things, the guy that you can't really trust week in, week out, and I know we talked about this a couple of times, is really anybody on Tampa Bay as far as week in, week out goes. For me, one of my big losers is Keyshawn Vaughn. I mean, I made the bonehead mistake of switching in and putting Fournette in for this week and trying to uh, thinking that he was going to get any touches this week after he was being announced active ahead of Thursday's game, but and obviously having 0 points put on because he didn't really see the field all too much. It was leaned on to Keyshawn Vaughn, but him having negative half a point. I mean, when you're a rookie or a younger player, even trying to step up and earn some timeshares, that's just not the way to do it. You see mismatched all day long, poor blocking, whole nine, miscues with Brady. I mean, him himself, Brady didn't look great either, by the way, not knowing that it was fourth down, but that's neither here nor there.
Oh
Just
yeah, I saw that.
not
Uh,
looking like a player that knows how to, push a team forward and be that next man up in Vaughn.
Yeah, and it falls under the same category as like people like Mike Davis. McCaffrey goes down, Mike Davis steps up. When people like Fournette go down, and Keyshawn Vaughn is the next guy up, you gotta show up. And this past week he just wasn't there. I mean, don't get me
Yeah,
wrong. Don't get me wrong. That's good for me. And Mike Davis, him doing good, it's kind of bad for me.
Yeah, I mean, every week you're going to have that back and forth of, you know, guys stepping up because, just the amount of injuries this year, and especially once these guys start to come back off of IR, and then, guys that are, sitting out due to injury, them almost keeping a position by these underperformances. When we look at Fournette, when he comes back in a week, another week to sit, a little bit more rest, get 100% healthy. When he steps in and gets onto the field, is he going to take 100% of the timeshare because of the lackluster performance of Vaughn from last week? And B, is he going to be able to keep it up at a higher pace to be a worthy start within any type of fantasy realm?
Wait, yeah, it's like, is he going to be able to keep up with the pace being as he's coming off of injury?
Right. And we have Brian saying, giving us an update on the game as it goes on here. Henry plays on another planet. We on Earth. This guy is somewhere else. I mean, and it's been the tale from all of last season, right? It's been, you do a little check down, you do a little pump fake, a little play action, and then hand the ball off to Henry,
Well, I mean,
Derrick Henry.
put him next to every other running back in the league. Put him next to every other running back in the league, and his head is all the way up there. He's up there somewhere else.
Yeah,
With
and
the height
as
that he
Eric
has,
mentions here, he's still pretty young.
he is.
Oh,
Yes.
that's as far as Allen goes. Not well. They're both young,
Hmm.
Derrick Henry, and Josh Allen. But he's saying that Josh Allen was bound to have a bad game, but he's still pretty young. I mean, if you look at it, it's been night and day between this season so far and last season. He's kind of uh, fixed the mistakes that he's made in years past when he was overthrowing a lot of receivers, throwing them too wide, or being inaccurate with that deep ball we know that he's got. Um, but this year, obviously, getting that a lot more in tune or in check. But when you have Mike Vrabel, a defensive player, a defensive coordinator esque mind as your head coach, and a big body defense that they play to be on the field 75% of the time because they know the big runs that their offense is going to break. So with that in mind, it's bound to happen as far as it comes down to making mistakes on the offensive side of the ball against that kind of caliber of team. Then he says here he's way more accurate this year, especially in his deep ball. Yeah, I agree 100%. As we mentioned, I think it also helps of having Diggs there. Not seeing much of him tonight, unfortunately, but when you have the receiver that's used to being the true, pure, deep threat, and working with somebody like that and saying, "Hey, I need the ball to be here every time in order for me to go up and make it," and then working with a bullseye that way when it spreads a little bit further you've got that much of a talent and receiver to go out and get it to help your younger quarterbacks out. Now that he's got that, I agree with the 100% more accurate compared to years previous. And,
And
that leads me right into my next point here is somebody that has not been accurate is Danny Dimes, Daniel Jones from the Giants, only putting up 6 points. I mean, I think he's really just missing the run game. There's nothing that's helping him set up. He's being forced to throw a whole lot more, and to a team that is definitely rebuilding as far as trying to find out who they want to put their pieces around.
yeah, I mean, in his case, I mean, they picked up Devontae Freeman. What is this? His second? Was this his first full game with them, or is the second week with them?
Second week, he did suit up. It might actually be his third week. I know he suited up the first week.
Okay. I mean, to help his case, maybe over the next couple weeks, Devontae Freeman will get more familiar with their play style, get more familiar with him, and they can try and get a run game kick started. Filling cleats like Saquon Barkley, it's not easy to do, but
Yeah.
having some type of run game is better than having no run game at all.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. They've got to do something, but the thing is that people underestimate the value of Saquon, and I know that's hard to believe just because of how big of a name he is already in the NFL. But he was used in the past game out of the backfield. just enough to swing things outside. Not necessarily like you see in Alvin Kamara, but enough in your screens to be a big threat there to really watch all over the field. And I just don't think Freeman is that guy. And I really don't think that the pairing of him and Lewis, makes up for that enough to help Jones out to really accelerate forward within this offense.
And speaking of young quarterbacks constantly making mistakes, showing their age, that takes me into my second loser. It's going to be number one overall pick, Heisman Trophy winner, Joe Burrow, coming off of getting his first win last week, but this week just got absolutely bullied by Baltimore's defense. -2 points with 183 yards, one interception, and one fumble. And pretty much the only thing I'm going to say is when you're given the captain's patch, week one, day one, a performance like that is unacceptable.
Yeah, I mean that this is something that we're going to be watching all year, right? When you have that much value behind you and drama for that matter, when you talk about where people think he should have gone as far as an overall with Tua dropping because of injury, with guys like Herbert being undervalued because of his NFL readiness, Jordan Love, Hurts, from just a packed um, quarterback room as far as this draft goes, and comparing him to those. A little bit unfair because he was a day one starter, unlike the others, but definitely a storyline to watch. I don't think it helps him much having AJ Green go down again, as we know water is wet as far as that's concerned, and then Tyler Boyd showing that he does need a true number one next to him to really do anything.
So I haven't really been keeping up with much of the rookie quarterbacks. I know Herbert definitely, from what I saw last night and what I saw in previous weeks, with him almost taking down Mahomes, almost taking down Brady, and almost taking down Breeze, like the top three quarterbacks right now. Well, arguably, very underestimated. But as far as Burrow's case, I'm not going to say he's overestimated. But because the past 3 weeks before this week, he put up 900 yards, like over 900 yards. So I just
I
think
wouldn't say I would say good player being wasted on a bad team. And
exactly.
for fantasy perspective, that just means a bad player.
Well,
you're not gonna be looking to count on him every week, right?
I mean, like I said, past 3 weeks, over 900 yards. He was putting up decent points, but if we're going off of this week, he's might as well just be riding the bench all season.
Yeah, but I mean, for me, that's something that if I'm looking at a guy like that, I'm saying it's very matchup dependent, right? Because I tend to lead the first 3 weeks of a rookie season, even 4 weeks into the year, the figuring out period, right? Defenses have no NFL film on you, so it's going to be a little bit more of a surprise as far as what you can do, you know, especially with you in that new scheme because they can't really go back and look at college because everything has changed for
Mm-hmm.
you. Now teams have 3, 4 weeks of film to watch from you. Now teams are figuring out your tendencies. Now is when you get into the true numbers. And if you can't keep that consistent or elevate, then unfortunately as a rookie, I'm not going to tend to look your way to have a start every week.
It all falls back on, I feel like good player, or yeah, he could be a good player just on a bad team. And I forgot. I completely forgot what I was about to say. Oh, no, I just remembered. Okay, so if fantasy wise, if I have somebody
Right.
putting up the numbers that Burrow has been putting up the past 3 weeks, yes, granted they didn't have any film on them, they can't go off of last year. What all that you said, it's like in Dak Prescott's favor. You know, 2-2. Now they're in the worst league right now, but the fantasy points were still there. I'll take that all day, fantasy wise.
Right. Yeah. And speaking of players that you're going to take all day, who is your final winner for this week?
My final winner for this week is going to be the man, the myth, the legend, Ryan Fitzmagic, or Fitzpatrick, whatever you want to call him
Pat,
this week.
I prefer Fats Patrick, but
Hey,
That's just me.
he can still run it in. He's shown that in these. What game was it against Jacksonville? He had a rushing touchdown. But as far as this week goes, 32.1 points, second highest scoring quarterback this week, 350 yards, 3 touchdowns. I, as far as winners go, I was looking at Patrick Mahomes. I was looking at Deshaun Watson. They all had over 300 yards, but basically what stood out the most with Fitzpatrick, no interceptions.
Yeah.
So that's a big plus.
And that's been something that's really plagued him his whole career, right? It's just, staying consistent enough to keep a job. He's either been replaced or been the guy to step in to replace somebody just because of the consistency in play. A lot of mistakes. We talked about this before, just being a travelman or a journeyman as a quarterback,
Mm-hmm.
playing on 7 different teams throughout the league, second most, or tied for first most, sorry, with um, Hoyer on the Patriots. So it it's nice to see that he's finally coming into rhythm, but I think that's more so from the pressure of Tua sitting behind him. I think he knows at any given point that if he slips up too much and he has that bad game, I mean, it's already happened previous week when you start to slide a little bit, then you start to hear that name called out behind you, you know, that's got to do something for you as far as, motivation to, move forward.
I mean, well, that's pretty much what got him to this team right now. What was it? 2 seasons ago, right? He was with Tampa Bay. Came in as a replacement for Jameis Winston. They were flip flopping back and forth for the whole season. I don't know if he ended up as the starter for the rest of the season, and that's pretty much what got him at Miami right now.
Right. For me, the same type of situation for my final winner for the week, as far as guys that just seem to, as far as fantasy perspective, haven't been able to keep it consistent enough to depend on, is Adam Thielen. Absolutely putting up a game for himself, 28.3 points this week, and the shocking part is that he's gotten that much of a share off of the back of rookie Justin Jefferson, who pains me to say was very much lackluster. But I believe that's because Thielen's back in that second man role, right? We saw it when Diggs was hurt before, where Thielen kind of struggled a little bit without him because he was the only guy out there to be covered. Then when Diggs was back healthy in years past, they both really shined because they knew what their roles were and they were able to exploit defenses that way. Um, the same as the Jets in the back, a few years back with Eric Decker and what they used to
Mm-hmm.
do and matching touchdowns. Um, you know, we saw Thielen do in the past, and now in this game you see it again. Justin Jefferson. Teams have more film on him. They still can't stop him, and then finally they start to double cover him, but then they forget. That opens up everything really underneath to Thielen and goes off for 28 points this week.
Yeah, Thielen is just another case of juju. I mean, they lose their number one, and that number two in Juju and Thielen, they have to step up and be the number ones. But if I guess they're just not capable of it, they're being covered more and they can't handle it. But like I said, one door closes, one door opens. I mean, uh, past couple weeks, Jefferson stepped up. Past couple weeks, Deontay Johnson, yeah, stepped up. Chase Claypool stepped up. But it shifts pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, and it's going to be like that every week, especially when you talk about these bigger, higher power offenses. But you know, when you're looking at fantasy perspective wise, there's really you're looking at two big ways of scoring, right? You're looking at your receptions and your touchdowns, and you could have that Justin Jefferson. You could play both of them potentially and have everything underneath go to Thielen and he score you with the receptions, and then Justin Jefferson score on the board and get you the bonuses touchdown wise and really even out. This week it was just the opposite. Everything really just went to Thielen as far as touchdowns go, having a pair of them, and then the receptions um, with um, Justin Jefferson only having a handful of points.
Yeah. And I think that pretty much with what was it, Dalvin Cook going down this week, I think that Jefferson and Thielen are both going to get, even Rudolph maybe. They said,
Yeah,
yeah, Kyle Rudolph, even him too, they could get more of a workload from here on out.
we have a Buffalo Boo. I assume they are not doing well as we see the score is 21-10 going into the half.
Yes, it
That is
is.
not good, as I need Stefon Diggs to have 35 points, which unfortunately does not look like it's going to happen at this point. You
No.
know, he is playing the role of my loser once again, as we see almost every other week here, is Calvin Ridley only having 3.6 points this week. Just not faring well as far as having that back and forth stuff go. So, you know, unfortunately, I picked the wrong week to play him and have to lean on him. But we'll see. Still a lot of football left with another half to go. And who did you have? Speaking of not leaning on anybody, as your final loser there?
Wait, you had Calvin Ridley as a loser?
I believe I had him in there. I had 3.6 points. No,
Are you
was that
sure?
wrong?
But that might
I'm
be
not
wrong.
100% sure.
Well, I have last week's game pulled up, Carolina, Atlanta, and it says receiving leader Calvin Ridley, 136 yards.
I might have had him in the wrong spot. That's on me then. Oops.
Well, just
Oops.
at least we corrected it. We corrected it. As my final loser for this week, I'm going with smaller name James Robinson, running back for Jacksonville. 8.5 points, 48 rushing yards, 5 receptions for 22 yards, no touchdowns. I don't know. Do you think he's their solution for filling in Fournette's shoes?
I don't know as far as it goes. I mean, I think it's a little bit too soon to say. I mean, he's been putting up big numbers, but again, you get into the game of, have teams seen enough of him to really be able to play him and be able to cover him well. I mean, it's as far as right now, it's looking like it is. I mean, they're back to the same thing, leaning on the running back a lot and trying to push out the yards, but you know it's really week in, week out as far as it goes until you get, I would say, another 2 weeks in to see how he's really faring once teams know how to play him.
Yeah, I think from here on out, maybe next week and on out, I think this is where you're really going to see those rookies that are going to, rise above all the other ones in that class. Because, like you said, they're starting to get film on them. And this is when it really matters most to them if they want to keep their spots.
Yeah. And that wraps up for this past week's winners and losers. Obviously, still keeping an eye on tonight's game as we see Josh Allen currently looking like a loser. Still have to play, though. Hopefully, he turns things around for my sake and the Evil Empire's sake. Still needing an unbelievable 35 points out of Diggs, but doubt that's going to happen at this point. And then looking forward to next week, putting this dumpster fire of a game I put up this week in the books. We bring to you the NFL news brought to you by the Recast, the official music of the FSA.
All right. Going into this week's NFL news, unfortunately for the few and small Dallas fans out there, we have Dak Prescott going down this week with a gruesome injury. I don't know if you got a chance to see the picture of it, Kevin. It was a compound fracture and dislocated right ankle, and it says he's gonna be out for 4 to 6 months, and looking like he's gonna be done for the rest of the season.
Yeah, that was absolutely gross. It looked like the first view of it looks like his shoe pops off, just because of the way that is, it looks like the, ball of his ankle is pushed out. You're like, oh, his
Mm-hmm.
shoe's just popping off. But no, take a second look. That's actually where it's broken, and he's got a floppy foot.
What do you mean?
It's
His cleat was coming off, but it was just taking his foot with it.
Yeah, and
Fortunately, I just wanted to add he had a successful surgery. I did see that.
that's good news. And
Yeah.
never want to wish injury on anybody. I do always wish for speedy recoveries as these players come back. And, as much as it might pain us to say fantasy wise, we don't want to see anyone have poor performance because of an injury like that.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, I mean, these guys' jobs. Like,
Right.
somebody goes down with an injury, they could be done. They could get cut from a team.
I
Somebody
mean,
goes down with an injury, comes back, does bad, they're out of a job.
look at Alex Smith. I mean, let's mention him for a minute here in the news. You got a guy like that goes down on the same day as Joe Theismann from years past. The anniversary of the injury, I believe, with Theismann in the stands, if I'm not mistaken, but goes down same exact injury, misses over 2 years. I believe it was like 650 some days since his last game, and then he was uh, he was listed as the third man last week. Now listed as the backup as Haskins gets the boots, and he moves down to the fourth spot. Then we have Allen getting hurt, and Alex Smith stepping in, and just to be able to step back on the field is an absolute, blessing for him and his family, and astonishing to see because I believe the news that had come out was that they talked about actually amputating his leg after the 17
Hmm.
surgeries he had.
Yeah, 17 surgeries. When you're being told that you could have your leg just gone, and to come back, yes, 2 years later, and to be able to step on a football field, suit up again, and be able to, make passes, play the sport that you love, play the sport that you grew up playing. It's absolutely amazing. And I say already, he deserves comeback player of the year without a doubt.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely a spot to watch because I want to see how he plays next week after having faced Mr. Aaron Donald, 99,
Hmm.
rated player. A guy like that you actually absolutely watch get wrecked, coming in, and then if he bounces back next week and shows less rust or no rust as far as coming back and playing, not having thought that he was going to play this past week, is definitely going to be the telltale sign of how that leg is feeling for himself. And then, as we have mentioned, your comeback player of the decade. Yeah, I mean, he's
Yeah.
right up there. Nobody else has faced that much adversity and come back to play. I mean, there's been other big injuries. There's been other, um, ACL tears, multiple ACL tears, off the field, stuff going on, but never anything like that type of injury to come back and suit up again.
Yeah, so the next 2 weeks, next week they are playing at New York, and then the following week they are playing, I believe, at Dallas, if I'm not mistaken. Give me 2 seconds. No, they're home against Dallas. So two teams with like spotty defenses. I could easily see him taking off within these next 2 weeks, and then he has the bye week after those two games.
And so coming in at a perfect time, really.
Yeah,
I mean, you get a rough one out the gate playing, Aaron Donald and that monster of a defense to kind of get back in the mode games and then right into a bye to kind of rest yourself. And that's if he is, stays and is named starter. I don't believe there's much news on Allen's injury just yet, but I'm sure you'll update us on that in a minute if we have anything.
yeah. As far as Allen, I have no news on him. He went down during the game. He got hit a little hard when he was, believe he was like sliding out of bounds or lunging out of bounds, and he got hit hard. But in a little bit later on in that game, he was cleared to play again. But Ron Rivera just decided to keep Alex Smith in for the rest of the game. But continuing down the news for this week, we have Dalvin Cook. Like I said earlier, went down. The last I heard on him, he was getting an MRI. He had a groin injury. Going down the list here, we have Chris Hogan. I know he's not much of a big name, but he has a high ankle sprain. I know Kevin told me earlier that he has been placed on the IR, so that's going to be a 3-week minimum for him. And then finishing it off with Sammy Watkins with a hamstring injury. And currently, there is no timetable for when he's going to be back. It just says he could miss some weeks.
Yeah, whenever you get those hamstring type things, those tears, pulls, that's really all of a feel type thing. As long as nothing is completely torn, you never really see what that's going to look like. But as we see here, as a person, do you think players play and any different against Alex Smith, hoping they don't re-hurt him? I don't think so. I mean, if you go ask Aaron Donald, he's going to tell you no. I mean, he hit him, I believe, 3 or 4 times right out the gate. As soon as he was put in, was the only guy back there, and I think that the the rules that are in place now are definitely quarterback favored. Right, whenever we see these big injuries to quarterbacks, they're usually pretty far and few between as far as the other positions. If we're looking at um, injuries go. I mean, you have Dak go down with the ankle injury. You have Jimmy G go down a little bit early in the season, but nothing usually as severe as what Alex Smith had gone through, just because of the protection that they've put in place to cover the quarterback. I mean, but with that being said, you got to play the game. I mean,
Yeah,
you can't let injuries or the fear of hurting anybody stop you from doing your job, because that's just it. It's your job. I mean, if you hit them and they get hurt, it's just a necessary evil of the game. I mean, you got to go in there almost you know as bad as it may sound, almost wanting to hurt the opposing team. That's just a mindset and an adrenaline thing. And you have different guys that have gone through that. Ray Lewis has talked about it in the past, where he's literally said on the field to players, "I want to knock your lights out and put you out of the game." That I think it's more of a mindset type thing. It's not a, "Hey, I want to really hurt this guy" type of feel. So I personally don't think you play any less rougher, any less intense playing somebody with that kind of injury.
yeah. At the end of the day, like you said, it's your job. I mean, don't get me wrong. I guarantee you, every player in the NFL, every fan in the NFL has a lot of sympathy towards him. They have you know, they're happy for what he's gone through and the outcome that came out of the work that he's put in. But yeah, at the end of the day, you're getting paid to hit that guy. As a defensive lineman, you're getting paid to hit him. You're getting paid to put pressure on him. And at the end of the day, it's a job.
Right. And speaking of, a lot of guys coming in and out, this week, as far as into fantasy rotations, out of fantasy rotations because of the injuries, or, your Claypool's absolutely having monster games. Who is your start and set for this week, Josh, ahead of Sunday's games?
All right, so this is where I get battered. This is where I get bullied here. Um, which one should I? I'm going to start off with the more safer one that I'm more comfortable with. So my first one, yeah, I'm going to say sit Joe Burrow. I said it before. Only 183 yards, 1 interception, 1 fumble. You were given the captain's patch day one. You can't do what you did against Baltimore's defense. And this week going up against a top tier passing defense like Indy, I think he's going to get bullied again, and I think he's going to get exposed for being a rookie.
Yeah, I mean, it's always tough whenever you to take guys like that. I know we've already mentioned it once here, is watching rookies as they progress. Can they adapt and grow rapidly to where it's faster than the film that comes out on them, to the defense knowing how to play them? I mean, we have seen success in it in the past. I mean, you're talking about your Lamars, your Mahomes,
Mm-hmm.
uh, um, Joe Flacco in the past. He had a great start to his career before, going through turmoil, as far as, getting up and going within your rookie season and second season within the league. So definitely something to keep an eye on. But who are you replacing him with if you're sitting Burrow?
So, like I said, this is where I get battered for it, and this should be a no-brainer. But I'm going to say start Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray, he's been a decent guy. I wouldn't say one of the best quarterbacks fantasy wise, but I don't know if you saw the pass that he made to DeAndre Hopkins against the Jets. It was
Yeah.
absolutely insane. Like three defenders around him.
I
But
mean, I wouldn't necessarily say that that's amazing or not, only because that is against the Jets. We do have to remember that they're playing a practice squad over there.
like
So,
yes, which is
but
why. Go ahead.
regardless, he has been, stepping up his game from last year where he did have those rookie moments.
Yeah, well, which is why I said three defenders around him. That's pretty much what made it like amazing. I believe it was three defenders. I don't want you to look at me weird here. But going up against Dallas, we all know what Dallas allows. You know, it's been nothing but 30, 40-point games that Dallas has been allowing. And, Kyler Murray, not only can he throw the ball, but he's not afraid to pick up the yards with his legs. He's not afraid to go for the first downs, and he's not afraid to go for the touchdowns.
Exactly. For me, a guy that I'm going to be starting this week, or sorry, sitting rather, is Matt Ryan. I mean, you lose your head coach, you lose your GM, your defensive coordinator gets put in as your head coach, which blows my mind, by the way, after giving up three huge leads that you're given a gift and awarded a head coaching positions. I mean, to me, that's put on my defensive coordinator, is it not? Giving up
Honest,
leads.
yeah, honestly, I would have cleaned house. I would have cleaned house.
I would have done the same. I would have said nobody.
Yeah,
No,
you're all
you guys
going.
just go do what you want. We don't need coaches.
I'd
You're
rather
doing
have
bad
the
enough
mascot
without
run
them.
my team. I'd
Yeah,
rather have the mascot run my team.
I know he's
Um,
down there in Atlanta. Can we get Bobby Boucher come up
oh
down
my
from
goodness.
make the road trip up? Put him in there. Would have been better off than what they got.
That's
Um, but they've got the tougher test playing Minnesota. Minnesota coming off of a heartbreaker to Seattle.
which we all
So
knew was going to happen.
I mean, that's just Sunday night for you. We
Exactly.
we know it can be close. He just can't win.
Oh my
But they're going to
goodness.
be looking to get back in the win column. So I'm going to be sitting Matt Ryan and starting the guy that is absolutely tearing up the defense right now as we speak, Ryan Tannehill. I think that, this guy is definitely stepping into his own and, been a journeyman a little bit as far as, in and out of lineups, switching off of teams. Um, then you come in here and you have really no worries, right? Because you have such a monster at the running back position that you don't have to worry about throwing the ball as much. But when you do, you have a young uppercomer, second year guy. I believe he's in his second or third year in AJ Brown for you. So
Mhm.
um, had last week off because of the early bye getting moved, having a late game today on Tuesday. On the short week, it may be a little bit iffy, but he's my start.
Yeah, I think Tannehill was given he was given a present. He came over straight from Miami, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he came over from Miami. Didn't he wasn't given the start at the beginning, but Mariota did that to himself, and Tannehill came out, did what he had to do, and like you
Well,
said, he has
they
Henry
flipped
behind
around
him.
a couple of times.
Yeah, they were
They
going back and
yeah
forth.
yeah there was at one point you might as well think that put them both in your starting lineup because at any given point in time each one of them could have you a handful of points. So just because of how back and forth that coaching staff was, up you took two steps back, you're out. Let's go with the other guy.
It was same situation as Tampa Bay 2 years back. Same
Yeah.
situation as them. And as far as Ryan Tannehill, he's the one that came out on top. And like you said before, he has Derrick Henry behind him. Unfortunately, Tampa Bay 2 years back, they didn't have that option.
Yeah, which that absolutely blows my mind. By the way, they have their one trick offense for the most part. I mean, like I say, you do have AJ Brown who can stretch the field a bit, but that 50% of the plays are going to be run either play action to where you're faking it over to Henry or something along those lines, or Henry's getting the ball, and he's a north-south runner, so For me, I'm putting all 11 guys. Sorry, I'll put 10. 10 guys on the line to stop him. I'll have one safety. That's I mean that's really the only thing you can do here.
I mean, he showed it last season when he had the what was a 99-yard rush against Jacksonville. He's
Yeah,
he's got the strength and
with
he's
the
got the
stiff arm.
speed to. Yeah. Oh my goodness. I
Who do you
apparently
got
I
as
got
your? Go ahead.
okay. Oh no, I was about to say apparently I got a notification. He did it to one of their defenders again. I think he bullied one of them.
We'll have to take
But
a look.
going into my second sit start, I'm gonna say sit Carson Wentz. Um
Hmm.
I completely forgot who they were going up against this week. Oh,
They
Baltimore.
are playing Baltimore.
Yeah, it was Baltimore. So uh Carson Wentz, Eagles, completely surprised me that they were even in contention for first place in division, which they still are, being was it 1-3-1 right now?
Yeah, that tie is what's
And
keeping them there. Actually,
yeah, the tie is what's keeping them there. Um, like in Baltimore, put on a show against Joe Burrow last week, and with Philly's receivers just dropping like flies, I don't see Wentz doing anything different from what Joe Burrow did.
yeah. Yeah, I'm right there with you 100%. I mean, Wentz has been slowly declining, but I don't know as far as the overall performance goes, been declining and fantasy value declining, but I don't know if it's all on him. I think that
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of poor play calling in Philly, a lot of injuries both in the offseason and throughout the season when it comes to that offensive line and within the receiver core. So tough to ever really get anything going to show your former MVP caliber type self that you're still got it. But that's another guy. I'll be very surprised if he keeps up the pace that he has. If he doesn't um, get put on the bench for Jalen Hurts.
So my next question is: do you think that the decline for Wentz had something to do with his injury?
Injuries, possibly. I mean,
I mean the
he's
first the very first
his
one,
past. Yeah,
which led them to a Super Bowl.
I don't think so. I don't see him playing hurt. I think he's just playing scared, if that makes any
Mm-hmm.
sense. I don't think there's any performance drop because he can't perform physically. I think it's more of a mental game that's keeping him out of the games.
Yeah. Um, but going to the other side of it, I'm gonna say to start Jared Goff, and as long as the ball isn't slipping out of his hands on a spike, uh, I think he should do great against the 49ers. They're bumped and bruised. Just like the Eagles, 49ers have been bitten by the injury bug, losing what was it two of their top linemen, losing their secondary here and there, and they put up they allowed 43 points last week for the Dolphins.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there as far as golf is concerned. I mean, playing that team, it's really just a watch and see, wait and see type of deal with him. I've never been a huge golf fan, but if there is a breakout game, I could see it being this week. I mean, he has
Yeah,
been pretty average, I'd say. But if you do have to pick him up to replace any of the tougher matchup scenario type guys, it is going to be this week to throw him in there.
yeah, and honestly, as far as 49ers defense, it all depends on if Jimmy G is going to play this week. And if Jimmy G
Yeah,
plays this week, I think that it could be a shootout, or it could like we know what the 49ers are capable of. We know that. But, Jimmy Garoppolo, not 100%, that could come into play. And, also you have one of the best defenders uh, in the game right now on the other side of him. Is he going to be able to handle that?
right. For me, I'm going wide receiver. I'm going to sit Will Fuller this week. Had an okay week, but it has a tougher matchup this week playing Tennessee. As you see, them absolutely taking care of Stephon Diggs and their number one receivers there. I know they're playing without John Brown tonight. The Bills are, but I don't see Fuller putting up anything as he's emerged as Houston's number one. I would be very weary of starting him against a team that's coming off a bye and then coming off of a strong showing tonight. So I'm going to be sitting him.
Yeah, so I'm gonna agree with you with sitting Will Fuller, but I'm gonna take it to like the next step up. I would be like suspicious about like all of Houston's receivers. They have so many good like second receiver talents on that team that it's constantly like Brandon Cooks will have a good week,
Wow.
Will Fuller will have a full week.
So breaking news.
Oh my goodness.
We
Why?
have
Why would they
breaking
do
news.
that?
We have Le'Veon Bell getting released by the Jets.
Why? Why would they do that? I saw that they were shopping him. They put him up on the trading block, seeing what they could get for him before the deadline. Why would they just
Wow.
give him the boot? He's still worth
Probably
something.
because of the money tied to him. Nobody wanted to either eat any of the contract or pay him anything. So when you cut him, I believe the Jets are responsible to pay what was guaranteed still, I believe, and then new contracts are picked up with wherever he wants to go. So that's my immediate thought is, where do you think he goes?
Well, say it's beginning of the season. Number one team that stood out to me, Giants. Giants.
That
They lost.
that's
They
a very
lost
good
Saquon.
possibility.
And let me ask you this: do you take Le'Veon Bell or do you take Devontae Freeman?
I mean, Devontae Freeman has shown what he can do in the past game in the past as far as those little dink and dunks. He hasn't been able to do both that I've seen as far as putting it all together. So I think it's a good pairing. I mean, I'll obviously take Le'Veon. I believe he still has something in the tank, but obviously you have Gase, one of the greatest NFL coaches of all time, still with the Jets. So I really can't believe that he couldn't use him with the Jets. I was gonna say New York, but they got three teams, so
Yeah, that's an absolute
yeah.
shock for me.
Eric, we're right there with you, bud.
Yeah.
No matter who grabs him, he's gonna start and show out. Yeah, I agree with you there. Do you think obviously one of immediate thought without looking at any of the teams, the spot that I might look is with the Panthers, but I think that McCaffrey's closer to coming back than we think. I believe he's only 2 weeks out. Plus, Davis is showing that he could be a suitable second man there.
I'm gonna keep going down NFC East. I'm gonna say most of NFC East could probably use him. You got the Eagles. I mean, Miles Sanders, like you said in Mike Davis's defense, he's showing up. And Washington, they need a running back too.
Yeah, that's true. Eric does have a good point there. The Giants' offensive line is terrible. That, and then he mentions that he picks him to go to the Chargers. I don't think so. I think that they're fine with Josh Kelly and Justin Jackson there, plus Eckler. I don't know was he out for the season or was that
he wasn't out for the season.
He's slated to come back.
Yeah, he is slated to come back this season. There. Yeah, I think Chargers are good. I think they're content with, Kelly and Jackson. I mean, I don't know what happened this week. I guess you could just say New Orleans has a decent run game or run defense. I'm sorry.
Yep. The Texans is a good spot to go. I mean, they do have Kenyon Drake, but Drake has not been.
No, wrong team.
Or sorry.
No, they can't.
Opposite side of that trade. They've got.
They can't take them. They need to stick to their guns. They need to stick to their guns on that trade. If they take Bell, that just negates. They know that they did bad.
That trade was Bill O'Brien. He's not there. He was their GM. That was all on him.
Well, that is true. Like I said, right after they get rid of Bill O'Brien, was it Bill O'Brien and the GM, or just Bill O'Brien?
No, he was the GM. He had both roles.
Oh, really? Okay,
Yeah,
yeah. Well, yeah. Right when they get rid of Bill O'Brien, they win a game. So I
yeah,
think that goes to show who the problem was.
right. Yeah, I mean, there's a yeah. See, the cap is insane. Yeah, there's a ton of spots where he could go and be used, but it's tough to say if anyone wants to pick up the money that's going to be there. Yeah, tear it down. Yeah, I say I don't know, if anyone else is, watching how you guys feel about this, but I say just ship all of the Jets elsewhere. I mean, I know we have the whole COVID thing, but if they set out the rest of the season, I wouldn't be opposed. I know that they're trying to put a team in London or Toronto, maybe Mexico City. Just move the whole thing and forget that it was ever happened. I mean, at this point, with the monstrosity that Gase has created there. But
I
as we get
completely
people
agree with
popping
you.
in and as we have people popping in and giving their opinions on, where will Le'Veon land, obviously we'll touch on that tomorrow with our resident Jets fan, um, the boss man, Brian. We wrap it up here. Who do you have as your ad for the week? Obviously, I know it's not Le'Veon, as he
What are
is
you what are
now
you what are you
disowned.
talking about? In the dynasty, pick him up on a dynasty or keep him in a
Too
dynasty.
old. Yeah, too old.
Oh, get out of here. He's still got some fuel in the tank. So I'm gonna go with, I guess you could say he's getting up there in age, but he's still got some gas in the tank. I'm gonna say Andy Dalton. And don't get me wrong. With Dak being out, I think Dallas is kind of looking towards just fighting for a wild card, maybe. But still, Dallas has the weapons.
No, Dallas is still in the contention to win that division. They're not fighting for a wild card. You can get 6 wins and win that division right now.
I That is actually, yeah, that is true. Geez, the other teams that are in that division. But I mean, you saw what Dalton did with Cincinnati. He didn't do anything. But with Dallas, new coaching, new players around him, he has receivers that can stay healthy. He has receivers that when he gets them the ball, they can do stuff with it. Don't I mean he had Joe Mixon, right? Mixon was there when
Yeah,
he was there. So he had Mixon, so he had a decent running back. Now he's got Zeke behind him. I think Zeke could be better than him. I mean, haven't
yeah.
really seen much of him this year, but um but yeah, no, you're right.
For
That division is just out there.
for me, it was the top dog for this past week is going to be Chase Claypool. I mean, we talked about it a couple of times already throughout the show. I mean, Pittsburgh emerging as a top team within the AFC, and Claypool leading that team now as far as being the number one receiver, with the injuries and lackluster performance from everybody else within that offense. So go out, pick up Claypool, put all your fab on him.
So I'm just gonna butt in here real quick, Kevin. Stephon Diggs, 7 receptions, 84 yards, and he just caught another pass for I believe like 6 or 7 yards.
Let's see. Let's check in on our Diggs tracker.
Our Diggs tracker. Don't worry, I'm with
Which
him. I'm with him.
let's see,
And
where's the points
actually,
I put?
as you can
What's
see, oh, I just missed it. I was gonna say they were just talking about it there. Le'Veon Bell released by the Jets,
what where's
and Allen just throws an interception.
come on.
All right, go ahead. What were you gonna
Allen, your
say?
team is not wearing blue today. White
Wait,
jerseys.
hold on. I'm
Pick
staying
six.
with this. He's going, and Allen makes the tackle
Oh, he can do something.
at like the 11-yard line.
Allen threw another interception and then had to be the guy to tackle him because no one else could get him down.
Hey,
Well, I don't actually know. I mean, that's kudos to Allen. I mean, if
he had
nothing
to
else,
he
at
had to
least
do
you're a big
something
enough
about his
guy.
mistake. He had to do something
Yeah,
about his mistake.
that's enough mistakes. We're still
Yeah,
two. We're still 2 or 3 touchdowns shy. Okay, on this Diggs note, he's only got 11 points. We still need another 24 out of him with
it was
what a little over a quarter or a little over a quarter left to play. Um,
it was
I
pretty
think.
much just an underthrown ball there.
Yeah. And speaking of
of who's not being the top dog.
Yeah, of not who's not unfortunately being the top dog. We do bring you to our final section, as we do every week. Top dog brought to you by Nature Coast Tailgating, our World Championship bowl sponsor this year. Last week, as I'll run through this, just as we do every week, me and Josh try to predict who we believe is going to be the top dog as both a quarterback and as a flex position. Flex being anything that's not a quarterback, your wide receivers, tight ends, kickers, if you please, and running backs. Right now, I believe it is my. Am I up, Josh?
No, currently we are broken even. It is 2-2 right now.
Okay, yeah. So based off of last week's score, it is 2-2. Going into this week, because you did have Lockett as your flex, who scored 7.4 points, you do get the point there. So it's 3-2. And the way this works is if your position outscores my position, that's a point. If you do predict the top dog as being that week's scoring leader, it is a bonus point of 2. Neither one of us has hit on that just yet. We've been close, but not quite. You had Dak this past week with 12.4 points. Lockett, as we mentioned, with 7.4. I have Allen going tonight, who is not looking to do me any justice to bring it back to even. And then obviously Jefferson, who we spoke about earlier, who was defaulted by Thielen, only mustering together 4.2 points.
And you said we're just not counting quarterback position this week?
Yeah, we're not going to count that until we know the final on this. Obviously, with another interception there, who do we have, or what does that look like as far as his current score?
I was going to check it, but I didn't want to be impolite and be on my phone for this.
Well, let me go down here. I've got it pulled up right here. Josh Allen, 10.86 points currently.
Yes.
And so Dak had 12 points. So I need Allen, please, buddy.
We're
throw
going
a
for the
touchdown to
sweep this
Stephon
week.
Diggs.
We're
Throw
going for the
another.
sweep.
I'm telling you, Diggs needs a touchdown, please. Titans just scored again. I'm not. Brian, you should be pretty happy about that as far as the overall score goes. That just puts the ball back into Allen's hands. Hopefully he can keep it in his hands and not the Titans' hands, but we'll see here. And as we go through it, Justin Herbert was our top dog with 32.36 points as a quarterback.
Okay,
and
yeah, I
then
was about to say.
Claypool being the leading scorer at the flex position at 43.1 points. And then we get an update here. Josh Allen is at 9.38. As I know that Brian is looking pretty close to that, so that should be in real time. Who do you got this week?
I was about to ask you that. You want to go first?
Me.
You want me to go first?
I'll go first. I'll go with Fitzpatrick this week. I'll take the Miami Miracle.
The Miami Miracle. You want to know?
You want to know who?
You want to know who could have stopped the Miami Miracle? Who didn't stop it?
Who is that?
Gronkowski. Remember they put him in. They put him in on defense.
Yes. By his shoelace.
That's because he could not. He got the worst angle.
I blame that brace. He couldn't reach.
He had the worst angle. You could tell he didn't belong out there. But who are you taking as your flex this week, Kevin?
I have the man that is carving up the Bills as of right now. As a wide receiver, though, not Derrick Henry, I'm going to take A.J. Brown.
Solid pick. Already has a touchdown tonight, I believe. Last I saw his stats, he had 1 touchdown.
We're missing our stat guy.
Yeah, we need our stat guy here.
Yeah, stat guy.
He doesn't get paid enough for this.
Yeah.
Who do I got? I am going with, I don't even know what to call him. He doesn't really have a nickname for me. I'm going with Kyler Murray. Like
Kyler, I'm 4 inches too short, Murray.
How tall is he? Like 5'11"? Like
I believe just under
5'10"?
that. Yeah, 5'10", I believe.
Yeah, he makes Breeze look like a tower.
Mhm.
Goodness. No. Breeze is, he's
Well,
gonna
he's
be the
6 foot even, right?
yes, he is 6 foot
Breeze.
even. He's
Might
and
might
that's
have
that's
gone
still
down in an
short for
older
a
age too.
quarterback. That's still short for a quarterback. But pretty much Kyler Murray, we see what Dallas's defense has given up the past couple weeks. Like, what was it last week? 34, and then it
Yeah.
was like 38, 39, 40, something like that. So Kyler Murray with the offense that they have, I think they could easily put up 30 plus points. And like I said, not only does he have his arm, he has his legs as well.
And yes, AJ Brown has 1 touchdown. Thank you, Mr. Stat Guy.
7 receptions for 82 yards.
Oh, there it goes. Didn't see that. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I have control of this. And as my flex position, I know I took him a couple weeks back, and actually he did get me a point a couple weeks back
Yeah.
because that was because Derrick Henry had the bye week. I'm going with Zeke. You know,
You think that
uh,
that run game is going to step up with Dak out?
with with Dak being out, yes, they still have the weapons there. I'm not going to say they're going to completely go to the running game, but I do believe they lean a little more onto it than they have in past couple weeks. And I mean, even still, when I picked Zeke last time, he didn't do me wrong. He had 20
Hmm.
points, I believe.
I guess we shall see.
Yes, we
Well,
shall.
that wraps it up pretty much here for the formal portion of the show. But before we return to our regularly scheduled Average Bros Fantasy Show on the 20th of October at 8 o'clock, check out our flagship program, the Fanatically Real broadcast tomorrow with myself and Brian at 8:30. We will be going live here on Facebook as well as YouTube. And you might be some special guest popping in. Who knows? You never know around here. New things evolving every single week through the FSA realm. And then after that, check out the Empty Wagon guys as they host their first show with us. They will be live Friday night into Saturday at midnight, the 16th, as they go live. And if you're not up that late burning the midnight oil, you can always still download their podcast at anchor.fm. And then after that, as always, we'll be back here on Sundays with our Zoom on the 18th at 8:15, just before the kickoff, to catch Sunday night's game. Talk some trades, talk some ad drops, if you will, review the whatever you need Josh Allen not to do from to save your week on Tuesday. Uh, Always a good time there. And then another episode of the Empty Wagon Guys Sunday night into Monday as they do a recap of the previous week. And then back to us here on Tuesdays as always. And I do have to thank you guys for watching the Average Bros Fantasy Show, sponsored by Football Darts and Fantasy Sports Alliance. Remember, if you guys like our show, go out, download, like, subscribe to all of our social medias, which you can find here below. And then take a look at our newly redesigned website, fsa-fr.com. Lots of good things in there. We are going to be featuring um, some articles. You'll see our videos in there, a little bit of foreshadowing. You'll see all about our sponsors, next year's memberships if you want to check them out and watch that as the season goes on. Might be some new leagues popping up. Who knows? Definitely another Dynasty League coming in the future. And then we want to thank all of our sponsors as we go through here. We want to thank QB54, our Arm and Leg League sponsor, Football Darts, our broadcast sponsor, Nature Coast Tailgating, our World Championship sponsor, and then all of our other bowl sponsors, Finger Lake Mercantile, Cranky Veteran Candle Company, Southern Siren Sugar Scrub, Deep South Creations, and of course, the Recast, who is the official music of FSA. Guys, I want to thank you again for joining us. I know that it was a busy night for everybody with the game playing. Josh, you got anything for us as we head out?
I'm going to say don't fight your teammates. Your teammates are your family. And I got to go pee.
Oh, Wonderful.
I'm
Thank you guys
doing
for
the-
joining us.
Doing the full-on dance here.
I see you over there. Thank you guys again for checking us out, and we will be back here and see you on Tuesday.
Bye-bye.